It's 2023 and BMW couldn't be more lost. Their current priorities consist of adding huge grills to the front of all their vehicles, making them look like angry megamouth sharks. They're also preoccupied with short-term profits, offering 8 different crossover SUVs, pushing aggressive leasing programs, and screwing their customers out of heated seats. There was a time, however, that things over at BMW couldn't be more different. This model year 2000 BMW M Roadster hails from a time when BMW's one and only goal was building the ultimate driving machine. And today I'm going to show you around this BMW M Roadster and show you all the things that make it just that. First, let's start under the hood, where we'll find the 3.2-liter inline 6-cylinder engine that powers this BMW M Roadster. It makes 240 horsepower, and power is driven through a 5-speed manual transmission. Not bad for a car that only weighs 3,000 pounds. All of that power sends the M Roadster to 60 miles an hour in just 5.3 seconds. Pretty fast even by today's standards, and definitely super impressive back in the year 2000. Lastly, you won't find any forced induction under here. Back in the day, you only got pure, naturally aspirated horsepower in your BMW, which is just awesome. And there's something about feeling all of that power run through an inline 6-cylinder engine. Just warms your heart. Furthermore, as we'll find out more about later in this video, what's just as impressive as the power in this M Roadster is the way it handles. In addition to it being lighter and smaller in every measurable way than any modern BMW, this M Roadster is also assisted by a huge set of 245/40 tires mounted on 17-inch rims. This was a super aggressive setup back in the year 2000, and it's still impressive by today's standards, and it really assists this car when you're getting aggressive around the corners. Furthermore, the size of this car really comes into play when you start getting on the back roads. Every year, cars are getting bigger and bigger, and we're losing touch of what it feels like to drive a go-kart-like car, but this car gives that term new meaning. It is just so small and so nimble, and it's so much fun to drive. On the interior, things are very different from anything you'll find in any modern BMW. There aren't even any buttons on the steering wheel. Instead, you have this classic BMW wheel, and I've always thought this steering wheel and the one that came in the E46 M3 were some of the best looking steering wheels ever made. Up next, the gauges in this car are extremely simple. No, they won't tell you where the next Dunkin' Donuts is, but instead they convey only the information you absolutely need when you're going out for a spirited drive. In the center here, you have your oil temperature, your voltage, and a clock. And up here, you have your gas level, speed, RPM, and coolant temperature. There's nothing else to distract you from the road in this car, and it really gives you a sense that you're one with the car, which is something that is very much missing in today's performance cars. Up next, talking about comfort features in this car, there are very little, which is frankly the way it should be in a performance roadster. If you want to change the temperature, all you have to do is reach down and put it exactly where you want it. You don't have to go through 110 menus to do this. So when you're on a back road going through curves and you're getting just a little bit hot, you don't have to take your eyes off the road. Instead, you can just reach over and feel exactly where you want the temperature to be. Furthermore, there's a very rudimentary radio in this car that just has basic functions, and it's super different from what you'd find in a BMW today. You can tell that BMW's ambitions at the turn of the century were more towards performance driving and less towards high-tech gadgetry. Additionally, all modern high-end cars have an automatic convertible top, but not in this car. The top will only go this far for you, and once you get it to this point, you have to manually bring it down and latch it into place yourself, which is something you definitely wouldn't see on any of today's high-end sports cars. One last point I wanted to touch on before we get this M Roadster out on the road is styling. Now, I'll admit I've never been a huge fan of BMWs, but I have always thought that this was one of the best looking cars ever made, and certainly one of the best looking cars in recent history. It just has such beautiful sweeping curves and such a simple, understated design for such a capable vehicle. Today, it seems like all auto manufacturers are trying way too hard to make their cars look bold and striking from every angle. They're putting huge flares on every body panel, huge grills up front, and they end up looking terrible, much like an inflamed cicada. But anyway, enough talking. It's finally time to do something I've always wanted to do, and that's gonna be taking the M Roadster out on the road. Let's go.
So we're finally driving the Z3. Now, I'll be the first to admit I have never been a big BMW fan. I can't tell you quite why. I don't know. I just have never really loved their cars that much. But I've always loved this and the E46 M3. I mean, absolutely love them. I love a lot of the older ones too. But this is one of the coolest cars I have ever had the opportunity to drive, and I'm so excited to get to share it with you guys. Another quick thing I'll mention is that anyone who's been to Tucson, Arizona knows that the roads are all in terrible shape around town. And I will say that this car soaks up the bumps surprisingly well. Like, the ride is really good while it still doesn't have any body roll, which is pretty impressive. That's German engineering for you. So, just a quick update, even driving it around town, it's been raining for a couple of days here. We finally got a little break where it's dry out and the roads are still a little wet. Just going around corners, it still gets a little loose. And man, the power is good! It is so fun to drive. The shifter is awesome. It's so precise. And it just, the steering is great. The steering is a little lighter than I thought it would be. That's kind of characteristic of older cars, but definitely not a bad thing. It makes it fun to drive. All right, we're gonna pull away from this light here and just give it some gas around this. Yeah. Woo! It wants to get loose. Oh yeah! Wow! This thing is awesome. Just driving around here, it's actually really refined, quiet. I haven't driven a convertible in a really long time, but this one's super nice. The shifter does take some getting used to. It's very like finicky sometimes. The gear is not where you think it's going to be, and also the clutch has a very long throw, which is not what I was expecting. It's kind of like way longer than a lot of the cars I've driven. You push it in and it just keeps going. But other than that, the engagement point is pretty good. Shifting the gears is pleasant. The shifter action is really, really nice. And just changing lanes. I can't believe this BMW actually comes with a turn signal. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, yeah, just around town, it's a ton of fun. Just really nimble, and wow, the power is good. The power is great. Woo! We're now on some of the more fun roads here in town. And one thing I'll tell you is that I am literally addicted to inline 6-cylinder engines. There's just something so sweet about inline 6s. They're just so smooth. The power delivery is just so seamless. I have a Datsun 240Z at home. I also used to have a Jeep with the 4-liter inline 6, and believe it or not, the engine in that Jeep was just so smooth. It kind of felt like a performance car when you were driving it. And the same is true here. I mean, the power delivery is so awesome. Instantly responds to your inputs. The shifting is just phenomenal. And the car handles really well. Now the roads are still a little wet, so I'm hesitant to push it super hard, but I mean, wow, it's in fun. Yes, and that is the point of a sports car, and that's kind of the difference between this and today's vehicles. Sure, new sports cars are fast, they handle good, but do they really put a smile on your face as instantly as this car does? And to tell you the truth, I don't think so. I think cars have become less fun in recent years. I mean, this thing is just so small. There's minimal driver aids. It's got an inline 6 naturally aspirated. It's just fun to toss around, and that's something I absolutely love. I'm gonna take it around some corners here. Wow. Damn, this car handles good. Woo! Holy crap. Just really feels like a go-kart. it's so small. My head is like sticking out the roof. Man, these roads are smooth. And the BMW just takes it. Like, woo, gets a little loose, but you can control it. Yeah, it just grips for days. Those huge tires on the car really do a number for handling. Super smooth. The steering is light, but it invites you to toss the car around more. It makes it very easy to drive. I mean, I know how to drive a car, but I'm not a race car driver by any means. And this car is just fairly easy for me to toss around here. The shifter is just phenomenal, as I was saying. And yeah, it really drives nice. Dip, no flood. Woo! Yes! Man, I love inline 6-cylinder power. So one last trip up this road here. This is a car that just, the second you get in it, you don't want to be driving this thing around a city. You want to find the nearest back road to get on and start hammering around some turns. It just, everything about this car is just centered around driving and enjoyment. I really like that. The steering is so easy and really friendly, user-friendly. The shifter is buttery smooth. The clutch works really well. The inline 6-cylinder is so responsive and amazing, and it sounds good. It's just really the perfect package for a cruiser that, you know, it's not overly powerful, it's nothing crazy, but it's just enough to get out there, push to the limits, and have fun on your favorite back road. And that's what I love about this car. I'm a fan. It's just such a different era from what we live in now. No screens in here, only traction control. That's the only driver aid in this car. But other than that, it's just such a driver-focused vehicle, and there aren't very many cars on the market. Maybe the Mazda Miata, but this car just has way more power than that one. And plus, it's like, you know, Mazda Miata is a great car and everything, but this is like, a lot of people are looking to get like that European brand cachet. A lot of people want to own a BMW, and there just isn't a BMW today that delivers this driving experience, this level of fun. It just doesn't exist anymore, and that's why I love this car so much. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.